everything is real. Everything is real. From the perspective of absolute, everything is real. From the perspective of absolute, everything here now is real. The illusion is real. The dreams are real. This present experience is real. Something which is unreal is also real. Something which you feel as not real, it is also part of the now. So this is a direct recognition that even the feeling of unrealness, feeling of dreaminess, feeling of illusion is also real. It's also part of the bigger now. So when we say that the world is an illusion, it is what we assume as the world. It is what we perceive as the world. However, from the absolute perspective, even wrong assumptions are real. Even distorted ideas are also real. So everything is included in the present moment. Everything is included in consciousness. And that is the beauty of consciousness, that consciousness has manifested all these forms and shapes. Somehow consciousness even manifested the ultimate idea that you might be separate from consciousness. Now, this is the most curious and ultimate feeling, an idea that I might be separate. It is the most ultimate idea and experience because it is completely on the furthest spectrum of truth. The truth is that you cannot ever be separate. It's just impossible. But the feeling and idea that I am separate is also real and can be experienced as real. Now, it just depends from which perspective. From the perspective of absolute, this idea of separation and experience is real, but it's experienced within consciousness. So therefore, it's fully allowed, it's fully accepted, it's fully supported, it's fully, it's just here. However, if we look at the perspective of a person who is assuming the reality of separation, now that of course doesn't feel so good. That of course, creates suffering, creates challenges and problems. For people, these experiences of illusion, unreality, are assumed to be real. Now, this is a very important word that I use, assumed to be real. If one doesn't know that that is a assumption, one will fully believe that separation is real, that these limiting beliefs are real, that suffering is real. One will fully believe in it if they don't know that it's an assumption. One will say that, yes, in my experience, it's like this, and that's completely real for me. It is an assumption from the direct seeing. So that's where the complications arise. That, from the average human perspective, there are a lot of troubles. The average human perspective, there are a lot of challenges. That the sense of separation it seems to be real. That the mind assumes many problems to be here. That many things are felt to be really, troublesome and challenging. And essentially, from the perspective of the position of the one who assumes, it is a challenging experience. But when one starts to open up their minds and hearts and consciousness, one starts to investigate, is it really so? Is it really so? Because having a fixed idea, it's a certain closure. It's a certain closure. One reinforces it further. So with the ignorance or not knowing, is it really so? One assumes the reality of a problem, limitation, separation. And to make it worse, one reinforces it with additional feelings. And that is very, very common. One starts reinforcing with additional mental associations. One starts to reinforce already challenging situation with additional mental stories. So there is a saying that pain is unavoidable. That if you hurt yourself, you will feel pain. But suffering is optional. And sadly, if you look at your life, you will notice that pain is not so common. That the actual pain is not so common. Everybody, we all have experienced pain, you hurt yourself. The body, experiences some pain, it undergoes some healing. It's uncomfortable, but it's bearable. It's not too bad. Sometimes, if there was an accident and things like that, you might need some, painkillers and medication, depending on the tolerance of your pain. But it's not too bad, you know. You cut your finger or your arm, you know, it just hurts for a bit, but then it becomes better and better. It's bearable, it's doable, it's not too bad. But the whole psychological thing, all those stories, blames, judgments, now all of that is completely optional. And that is what is called suffering. And if we look at the average human life, 95 to 99% of all the suffering is actually psychological, emotional, mental. And all of it is optional. It is optional because there is a way. It is not really real. It is only real if one assumes it to be real. It is only real if one reinforces it. It is only real for the ignorant ones. But in reality, upon a closer look, is it really so? One finds out that it is not really so. One starts to find out that things have been running on autopilot, that things have been pre-programmed, pre-installed in one's mind, and one didn't know how to manage thoughts. What are thoughts? How to manage them? Where did they come from? Why they're here? How to subside them? How to resolve them? What are those additional feelings of anger and judgment and sadness and depression and cravings and longings and desires and dissatisfactions? All of these things are also optional, only because of mismanagement, not knowing what to do with them, not knowing how to manage them. So that is called ignorance. It is optional. So from the biggest perspective, 95 to 99% of all the suffering in the whole human existence is optional. Fortunately, our society is not helpful. The government is not going to help you with that. The educational system is not concerned about that. They want to prepare you for a good job, but not for a happy life. The universities as well, they're not helping one with that, unless one specifically chooses, psychology. And of course, that's where spirituality comes in. But essentially, it is a recognition that, unfortunately, the whole society, it doesn't matter where, in which part of the world, is still ignorant of the very fact of why people are supporting this optional suffering. So Buddhism actually was the most clear tradition, religion, system of explaining the nature of suffering. The cause of the root of suffering is being identified as ignorance. So looking at what is real from the today's perspective is to find out that what is real in your experience is mostly based on assumptions, is mostly based on ignorance. At the same time, even if you feel something, you feel some energy, for example, some pressure and tension, it is felt as if it is real. It appears to be real. Now, even hearing this, starting to hear this, that it appears to be real, it might feel as if it is real. You will notice that something in you starts to feel a greater support in you. That something in you listens deeper, and the mind may say, oh no, this is real, my pain is real, my energy disbalances are real, how come they cannot be real? I'm feeling them, they're right here. How can you argue with that? They're just right here. But this attitude is unsupportive. This attitude is, if not reinforcing that which is undesired, if not reinforcing, well, it is then keeping it as such. So reinforcing is the worst. Keeping it is also unhealthy. So many of you are very open, and you're open to investigate this. Maybe someone is immediately resistant. And if you notice that there is an immediate resistance, it means that something inside you is reinforcing suffering. This is important to bring it into your awareness. If there is any resistance, then something is reinforcing in you suffering. And start gently bringing into your awareness. Yeah, if you feel like resistance or objection or some thoughts arise, like no, it can't be so, but this should be real, and that should be other way. Objection, yeah, resistance, objection. It means that there is a subconscious or unconscious pattern of reinforcement. And that pattern subconscious and conscious pattern of reinforcement is based on assumption. Is based on assumption. And of course, you may make a valid point that in my life I had so much suffering. In my life, I went through so much trouble, so much suffering. It was all real. It was all absolutely real. It was as real as when you are in the dream and you are experiencing pain. It's also real. It's as real as in this life you have your past experiences and they all happened. But to become free is to notice the error of the past. It's to notice the error of the past and to check if you're still supporting that error of the past. If that error is still present. So from absolute perspective, everything is real. Everything is real. From the highest point of view, your assumptions are real. Your suffering, optional suffering is real. Your errors are real. They're all part of the play and game. And if you assume that you're limited, your assumptions are real. If you feel you're limited, these feelings are real. From the absolute point of view, this whole play is real. It's called a tragic comedy. Tragic comedy. Here on earth, the human life is considered as a tragic comedy. It's tragic because it's all assumed to be real and suffered. It's a comedy because it's actually not. It's optional. They're based on assumptions. So awakening to this fact is not easy in a way, because you just realize how many things were optional, how many things are unnecessary. Some people, start laughing at themselves. Some people start crying. And it is fully so. So from the absolute perspective, everything that happens energetically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, even the Maya, the illusion, the veiling, the conditioning, it's all real, it's all happening, it's all manifested. But the big question is, who are you? Are you this entity who assumes that all these things are real, who suffers because of the assumption and ignorance, who suffers because you unconsciously reinforce the suffering, you object the truth and you reinforce the illusion? Now, consciously, of course, you understand, I don't want to do this. But subconsciously, you feel resistance, you feel objection. So it means that there is a reinforcement of illusion, of ignorance somewhere, that some programs are running, some conditioning is running. The best approach to this very tragic comedy, to this sad in a way, funny but sad truth. The best approach to it is with kindness. The best approach is to recognize the truth with loving kindness and compassion. It is to approach this truth with self-compassion, to recognize that, oh my goodness, no, what a big mess, what a big trouble. Most of it unnecessary, and what a illusion of all of these assumptions. And that's where you should stay in the middle. Stay in the middle. Because if you start, falling into victimhood, you are again reinforcing suffering. If you are becoming very sad, you are supporting. You are supporting suffering. If you judge yourself, you are hurting yourself. If you judge others, you're hurting yourself and others. So you need to become very aware in this instant. What reactions arise? What arises in you? You need to become very aware in this instant. What reactions arise? What feelings arise? What energies arise? What objections arise? And stay in this aware instant. That's where you want to stay. On one hand, you can have the self-compassion as your right hand. You can have kindness to balance any judgment. So you can empower yourself. You can empower yourself with necessary tools to support you in this process of disillusionment. You need support in this process of disillusionment. Self-compassion is one, like your right hand support. Loving kindness is your left hand. The instant present moment awareness and being centered and not being swayed to the left or the right is your power. If you lose your power and start stepping into objections, into sadness, into feeling I can't do anything about it, you're losing your power. Losing your power. So the most important thing is to return. If you lose your power, the most important thing is to start returning to your power. You're losing power, you not investigate any further to dive even deeper in the darkness. If you start losing your power, stop investigating, start returning back to your power. This is number one. If you're no longer in the center, the present instant awareness of what's really going on here, and if you go into the energy, into the feelings, I usually call it you get wet. So when you need to step out of the river. Many of you know the emotional inquiry practice, but this is, you get wet even in the energy. You get wet in your experience. As soon as you assume that this experience is real, you're wet in your experience. In the highest way, you need to come out of your experience and all these energies, emotions, centered in your power of awareness. And from that power centeredness of awareness, you look closely. What is going on right now? What you are assuming, what you are taking as real. What you are assuming, what you are taking as real. Because that's where you are leaking your power. Some of these things for granted. Many things are even taken for granted. For example, that I am human, taken for granted. I am male, taken for granted. I am human, taken for granted. I am alive, taken for granted. Of course, I'm not assuming that but assuming that I am alive is also taken for granted. Because then I'm flowing into the stream of life and my power of awareness is leaking in the river of life. I am assuming that there is a continuum of time, that there is future, that there is present, that there is past. Time is real. There is future. Of course, I think about it. There is future. There is the present continuum taken for granted. Oh, the past, yes. It's real. Now these things are, we can say, the base code of human experience. If we remove all the suffering, which is optional, and we're left in a peaceful, harmonious existence, we will still realize that we are in 3D, that we are in this assumed continuum of time. And we will still feel that something is limiting, that something is not so free. So therefore, at the very deepest level, there are the things which are like, I call them the base code, or if you know computers, the BIOS. You know, the the most fundamental programming, which is it's not wrong. It's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, to experience time, continuum, to experience that, you know, I am alive, this assumption alive, and future, and, you know, there is tomorrow. There is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. However, if you want to be free from time and space and any other dimension and place, energy, is to check even the most taken for granted experiences. To bring them to your awareness. To bring them into your awareness. And you will recognize, oh wow, it's amazing. You know, it's totally normal to feel that there is future and tomorrow, but I'm leaking my power. You know, I'm being pulled into the future. You know, part of me is projecting. It's not present. Part of me is not present. It's projecting forward somewhere. Now, to reach this level that I'm speaking of, it's only for, you know, it's very deep. It's for those who can go this deep. But I want to, you know, share everything with you. You know, from the normal, taken for granted experience of life. You know, when there's no suffering, no pain, no problems, you know, this is how we live as humanity, isn't it? There's nothing wrong. It's just how we live. Now, sadly, there's like a whole big bunch of suffering on top of it because we don't know how to deal with living, with emotions and thoughts and psychological distortions. You know, these are all the troubles of living. But I'm even pointing to the fact of living. So you may maybe travel to another planet, you know, in the next 20, 30, 50 years, and you will meet another civilization, and they're all living peacefully. They're all living peacefully. They're all living this assumed life of past, present, future. They don't have these mental, emotional problems like we have here on this earth. But they're just living peacefully and ignorantly that there is, you know, there is past, present, future, and they're just going in these cycles of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. So they're unenlightened civilization. They're not troubled like humanity, but they're not enlightened either, for example. And you recognize that, wow, their life is beautiful, it's simple, but they're all still an illusion. You know, birth and death, birth and death. Just like animals, actually. You know, like here on Earth, we have animals. You know, they're not troubled by emotions like humans are. You know, sometimes I used to be jealous to the cats. They're so zen, you know. They're like, you know, they just so relaxed, so unbothered, and so aware. It's just wow. The cats are so amazing, and in the past, if I would look at the mind, it's like, my goodness, I'd rather be a cat in this life than deal with all these troubles, you know. So here on Earth we have animals. They're living their lives. They're not troubled so much unless we cause them trouble, which we do. But otherwise, they're just living their life. They eat, they sleep, they procreate, they're born and they die. They live their life. But they're not free. They're not free. They don't have a direct awareness, self-awareness, a direct awareness, an intelligent awareness, the awareness of freedom, the awareness to be free. So animals don't have that. Yes, and in the example of a possible another civilization, which maybe we will meet in the next 50 years, who knows? It's not an argument right now if there is or not. It's just an example for the sake of just imagining how it would not be troubles, psychological, mental, emotional troubles. We would live peacefully, harmoniously, living and dying, living and dying. But freedom is a different thing. To be free, you have to see through life, to see through it, to see what is really real, to see what is really here in your present awareness, in your present awareness. So that is how you gain freedom. You gain it because you have it. It's not something that you don't have. I can correct myself. You return to it. Yeah, I will correct myself. You return to your freedom. You don't gain it. You return to it because you already have it. You have awareness. You have self-awareness. And you are aware directly, immediately. But then you have all these habits and patterns, assumptions, and you're swinging left and right, and you're constantly wet. You're constantly wet in your experience. You're constantly wet in your energies. That's a new one. You're wet in your energies. Some people are drowning in their emotions, in their thoughts. Not only being wet, but drowning, suffocating. Yeah, but otherwise, from your present instant awareness, you become wet. So come back to your present instant awareness. Notice what's going on. Bring everything unconscious into the light of awareness, not into the light of the let's imagine the light, that's like a baby spirituality. Yeah, but bring into the light of your awareness, into the real light, not the energy of light, into the awareness. Bring into the light of your awareness everything which is subconscious, unconscious, your habits. And it's not easy. It's not easy because you have to stop the train. Your train is like on a fifth gear. Some people are moving on bullet trains through life, just birth, death, gone. On a Japanese bullet train. Some people, more specifically on a slower train so that you can enjoy this environment a bit more. And some people, take a car or plane or walk. However, everyone is wet, going through life, being in it, wet. assumed, ignored. So bring into the light of your awareness. It's not easy because there's a big pull, there is a big momentum, there is strong waves, and you're pulled and dragged, and you're sitting peacefully in your lovely meditation. Your mind just kind of grabs you and drags you, into some judgment or something like that. It happens, but loving kindness. It's like, okay, I got dragged. Okay, I got dragged. Self-compassion. I shouldn't feel victimized. I shouldn't become sad and depressed. I shouldn't, feel helpless. Self-compassion, loving kindness, and recentering. You're gonna need 1,001,000,000 times to recenter yourself. And that's how you do it. That's how you do it. And then, of course, just, to make it fully complete, then of course there are various other spiritual practices and transmissions and, private sessions and, everything else which is supportive to make it easier, to make it quicker, to assist you, help you, to gain more clarity. In essence, to help you to gain more clarity and to help you to come back to your power of your own present awareness. Yeah, so all the supportive things to help you gain more clarity of the present, what's happening, and to bring you back into the power so that you stabilize in your power, you stay right in this present instant awareness, which becomes more and more present, stronger and stronger, boundless, open, immediately aware. Yeah, so that's a complete way we can say. And shining the light in today's meeting about what is real. How not to get wet in all the optional experiences which do not make you free, which don't help you to be free. So now let's do a bit of meditation and practice, and we will focus this meditation on strengthening of awareness, coming back to your power. So take a few moments to slow down and gather your attention back to yourself. Gather your attention back to your head, back to your heart. Gather your attention back to yourself, because otherwise it is involved with something. So withdraw your attention from things and gather your attention back to yourself. And then relax your attention into the present awareness. Just let go of your attention and just recognize that you are aware in this instant. If you need more time, you can take more time to slow down, to feel your breath, to step into a meditative state if you need more time. If you need more time, you can collect your attention back to yourself. Just recognizing that your attention might be involved with some thoughts, some feelings, energies, maybe wandering somewhere, contemplating on something. So gently, softly and gently, withdraw your attention away from involvement. Draw your attention away from involvement, and you can feel that you're simply here. You're simply here. And this is what opens the door into awareness. When you feel that you're simply here and you're not involved with any activities, this is the opening of the door to awareness. You just acknowledge to yourself that I am already aware in this instant. You just acknowledge to yourself. And this is your center, your power. And from this place, you can then start seeing if something arises. If nothing arises, just stay there. But if something arises, or you can notice what is present as energy, as a feeling. That is what needs to be resolved. If there is a certain limitation, if there is a certain objection, a resistance, or rejection, you can just gently stay aware without getting involved, without getting wet. Just stay aware. You can stay aware of that thing. And one more important thing is you can allow yourself to go into this thing. You can allow yourself to get wet, but when you are from the place of your power, because now you know how to swim. You know how to swim. You're in your power. You're in your awareness. So now you're willingly going into the river or into the ocean for a swim to explore that limitation willingly from the place of your power. And for a few moments, you can allow yourself to be drawn into these contemplations and to feel the feeling and to just experience that kind of energy. You can willingly allow yourself to do that for the sake of healing, for the sake of resolution. So from the place of power, you can allow yourself to be drawn into experience limitation, because that way is a healing way. It is assistive, supportive, because you're not lost. You know that you can always come back to your awareness and recenter. You're not lost. And then as you allow yourself to be drawn a bit and to do some healing, then when you are ready, you can return back to your power and stay there until something else arises. And that is a continuous practice of strengthening and resolutions. It's the same way as you allow yourself to be drawn into it, but you're not of it. You allow yourself to be in it, but you're not of it. Just like Jesus said, I'm in the world, but not of the world. Or like Shiva was dancing with life. So you can dance with your experience, but you're not lost in it. You can dance with your experience, but you're not lost in it because you are self-aware. Dance with your experience, but you're not lost in it because you're self-aware. You're in your power. Remember, self-compassion, loving kindness, And to gently recenter. And then to allow to experience things, to heal them, to give them some time and awareness. For resolutions. You can know that you are always supported. One very supportive technique is to think for a second, like what would my teacher or my mentor or friend or guru would say in this situation. It can be even, your friend or your grandmother or any person that you feel that in this situation you need a bit of support. You can just think that, oh, what would they say? What would they do in this situation when you feel that you have reached your limit? Of course, it's good to connect with someone who could be of help. Because if you would maybe shoot, if you shoot a bit too high, for example, what would Shiva do in this moment? Oh, he would be unbothered. Yeah, he would sit on his chariot and fly into the sky, and he would be like this and like that. That's not helpful. That's not helpful for you. It's a lovely idea, but it's not helpful. Just be more real with what would be helpful for you. Connect with the being that you would feel would be helpful. So that's what I'm saying. It can be a friend, a grandma, maybe a certain teacher, or a mentor, or of course a guru, or some other divine beings that you feel that would be helpful in this moment. You just think of it. What would they do? What would they say? What would they, how you, in this way, you will, something that would be helpful. So don't, go too high, and then it's not helpful for you. And then, of course, you always need to come back to your present awareness and to do your part, your bit, to do your job. You can always get support in many ways from many beings, but you also need to do your job too. So you always need to be in your power to do your work. You can get support, but then you need to do your work to strengthen your power. And that's the balance to be kept. Yeah, it's the right balance. You're not lost in Krishna. You're not lost in any other beings. You can get their support, and then to see how that helps you to be more in your own awareness, to do your work. So that is the right balance. Sometimes, you need more help at the beginning of your journey. Then usually you come to a teenagehood period where you're getting all the support you need. Then you're becoming a spiritual teenage. So you start, rebelling, and I'm gonna do it my way, and I'm gonna make my own mistakes and see the world in my way, and then but the mother, the mother allows the children the teenagers to do their thing, to explore their stuff. Then again, it's good to remember, what else would help me? What else would support me? Because sometimes we also, either feel victimized or we feel too much in control. So when we feel that oh, I'm so much in control of my life, of my thing, of my, of me, myself, and it's all about me and myself. Then that's where the spiritual ego is rising. That's where the spiritual ego is rising. So again, it's the middle way. It's the middle way. Yeah, you constantly need to monitor if you're, victimizing yourself, or if you're boosting the ego of yourself, or maybe you're temporarily exploring things and options, which is fine. And there are many cycles in life. There are many cycles, and they're good. They're all fine. These cycles in life, they need to happen. And that's how you test your mind. It's how you test your strength, your centeredness, your weaknesses. You test yourself. Yeah, and then you evaluate yourself. Am I still in my awareness? Am I in the right balance with my awareness? Is my ego too boosted, or maybe my mind is, I'm feeling too much victimized and out of balance in another way. So balance is a tricky thing, because it always needs to be balanced. You're constantly swinging, in one or the other direction. It's tricky. So it's therefore, you can't rely too long on some experience. You cannot rely too long on any experience, because you're going to come out of balance from your own awareness. You're going to come out of balance in one way or another. So do not rely on experience too long, because the river goes its own way, so to speak. Yeah, and then there might be turns and twists and paths that that are not necessary. So it's all about the what supports you, what helps you, what empowers you more, and helps you, well, also to help others, so to speak. But in the highest sense, to be more awake, to be more aware, to be more present, and to gain more clarity of all that is happening right now. When the ego is rising, when the victimization is rising, the life, energy, balance, experience, they have their ways, their cycles. But the most important thing is the clarity of every single moment, awareness of every single moment, the direct seeing, the direct seeing. And then you allow this experience to play out in that way. You allow things to happen as they happen. You allow the train to go where it goes. So as Shiva said, dancing with life, with Leela. And then Ramana has a quote about a train going to its destination. So you shouldn't get bothered too much, of where the train is going. Recognizing that you are the passenger of life. You are the passenger of life. This experience is a passenger of life. Well, you are, in a sense, you are the awake one. who is experiencing this life unfolding and then happening. And of course, when you remove all these other subtler separations, you are life. You are this experience. You are all of it. Yeah, so you always being everything, whatever you have experienced. You have maybe been suffering, you have been joy, you have been pain, you have been the bliss, and you are now this, here now, all of it, all of it, all of it, all of it, all of it. Every sensation, every energy, every thought, every feeling, every space, every cloud, every tree, every bird, all of it is in your experience, and without separation is you, in you, as you. Yes, so today we had some exploration and some straightening, a bit straightening out of what is real, what is here, what is now, and for the purpose of gaining clarity, gaining clarity. And, you know, it can be sharp, it can be powerful, but please remember self-compassion. Please remember self-loving kindness, and it is your present moment, it is your present experience. So all qualities of compassion, kindness, love, gentleness, cultivate these qualities will always support you. Yeah, cultivate that which is supportive. Gain more clarity, heal and resolve that which is not supportive. And it's not necessary to try to reach higher sooner if it causes you more pain. You know, the middle way is to be supported, you know, by others and by yourself. It's not to push yourself somewhere quicker, higher, further, if it means that you will endure pain and feel very big distress and you know, gonna affect severely your life and disbalance things in your life. So my ultimate message on your path is the middle way. And sometimes you need a little, you know, more support, you need a little push, you know, if you feel that you're ready to move forward, you need a transmission, you want to do the highway thing, then let's do it. If you feel you need more healing and more love, compassion, then that is what you need right now. And that is the middle way, which is supportive, is the quickest way, ultimately. Ultimately, it's not, quickly you arrive at full consciousness and, and then you have all those disbalances to work through. It's not about time. It's about it's not about the destination, but it's about the journey. The journey is now. So it is about now. It's the middle way of now. Yes, it's not about the destination, it's about journey. And the journey is now. So don't push yourself too much. Don't sleep either. So middle way, supportive way. And that is the most beautiful way. Because then you're gonna love yourself most. You're gonna love yourself most. Yeah, some people achieve things very quickly, but then they're like, oh, I missed all the beautiful things on the journey. I missed all the beautiful things on the journey. So it's not about being the achiever. It's about having a lovely journey, the most optimal journey. And the journey is now, the most optimal now. In your power, fully aware, working through your work, being fully supported in the way that you need.